To participate in the general public comment period, please call now at 818-238-3335. Speaking times will be determined by the total number of public comment cards and callers in the queue at the start of each public comment period. For 1 to 20 total speakers, each speaker will receive up to 3 minutes. For 21 to 39 total speakers, each speaker will receive up to 2 minutes. And for 40 plus total speakers, each speaker will receive up to 1 minute. No additional comment cards or calls will be accepted once the public comment period begins.
All right, welcome back to a regular meeting of the Burbank City Council on Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. Today's study session item is the discussion of the George Izay Park Master Plan Phase 2. I welcome Diego Ceballos, Assistant Director in the Park, Recreation, and Community Services Department, to begin the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Perez. Diego Ceballos, as mentioned, the Assistant Director of Park, Recreation, and Community Services. I am excited to be here with you tonight to provide an update on the George Izay Park Master Plan. Let me start by reminding everyone that we did in 2022, we did deep community engagement that lasted for 12 months. That community engagement process led to the development of the Park Master Plan. On October 2022, the staff presented the George Izay Park Master Plan to City Council for approval. Council approved the master plan and directed the city manager to move forward with Phase 2, which includes an architectural analysis, floor plans, and 3D renderings. It is my pleasure to welcome Tamara McClory from RJM Design Group that will present the architectural analysis and for the redevelopment of the Olive Recreation Center and the Burbank Performing Arts Center.
Welcome, Ms. McClory. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be back here. Like Diego mentioned, I was part of the community engagement process back in 2022, which sounds like a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago, and tremendous output from that. That's really shaped this Phase 2 of the project, so I'll kind of run through that in summary. But to go ahead and begin, as Diego mentioned, the purpose of this part of the project was really to take the master planning efforts and take it one step further. Part of the recommendations during that part of the process looked at phasing. So it was deemed that the most important phase to begin with was going to be kind of the next stages of the Olive Recreation Center building and the Burbank Little Theater building. So as part of this process as a whole, we did a site survey to really get accurate park information. We also performed architectural analysis of the existing buildings in terms of their functions, their programming, how they're used today. And that information really helped shape where we took the floor plans moving forward for the new buildings. And as mentioned, we developed preliminary floor plans for those new buildings and really came up with some conceptual 3D renderings for what these new buildings might look like, how they fit in the existing park site, and what the surrounding improvements might look like. So this process really started a little over a year ago, last October, where we started those park surveys I mentioned. And during that time, we began to re-engage the Cultural Arts Commission. They were very helpful during our master planning efforts in 2022. So we met with them on a number of different occasions to really understand how the Burbank Little Theater functions now, where improvements could be made, what are the needs of that community, your community, and really what is the vision for this improved building. And during that, we gained a lot of feedback and allowed us to develop our preliminary floor plans, which were refined over the coming months. And last month, we presented our presentation, which included the floor plans and 3D renderings to Park Board. And we're here tonight presenting to you. So again, thank you for having me and RGM Design Group. So just to recap, like I mentioned, those 2022 master planning efforts, tons of community feedback received. We joke in our office this was the gold standard. No city has yet to break the number of feedback comments or surveys completed as part of this effort. So really, really impressive, and just shows how important this project is to the community. So taking that information during that part of the process, we developed our conceptual master plan. And as part of the conceptual master plan, we looked at phasing recommendations, knowing that the number of improvements proposed would not be accomplished all at one time, and really deeming what, if there was a priority list, what that might look like. And at the time, it was determined, as I said, the Olive Recreation Building and the Burbank Little Theater were of most importance. So as part of the master plan recommendations, we recommended demolishing the existing buildings and replacing with new buildings, which would serve a bigger footprint if possible, additional programming needs for today's Burbank community and the future, the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now. And in developing these two new buildings, really we wanted to create a pedestrian-friendly orientation between the buildings. Right now, it's kind of, I'll say, back of house for lack of a better term. The existing parking lot runs between the two buildings. It's kind of dark, unused space, and we know with George Isaiah, we're very limited in space. We're constrained on all sides with the existing streets, housing, businesses, so we have to make the most of what space we do have. And by reorienting the building entries towards each other, kind of in that existing back alley footprint, that allows us to really create this pedestrian-friendly zone that can activate the rest of the park. And in doing so, part of the recommendation would be to possibly shorten the current parking lot to create more of a drop-off zone. We know parking is of a concern. Fortunately, there is quite a bit of space on Clark and Griffith, so part of that reorientation of the building would kind of be a re-education of park users on where the front of the buildings are, where you park, how you navigate, and that would be part of those proposed improvements. Also improving the pedestrian walkways, like I kind of mentioned, path of travel, signage, amenities within that space. And in addition, currently there's a freestanding restroom building on the backside of the Burbank Little Theater next to the playground. Demolishing that building and providing park restrooms on the exterior of what our new theater building would be to really improve the functionality. So you can kind of see, it's a little hard, in white, on the existing park plan where those two new buildings would be positioned, really in the current footprint that they are in, with the goal of, like I said, reorientating the entries of the buildings towards each other, creating that pedestrian-friendly plaza. See it in a little more detail here with our floor plans. And so I'll start with what we're now calling the Burbank Performing Arts Center. So much of the feedback on the theater was the importance of having something beyond just a 99-seat auditorium. So the floor plan we developed includes a black box theater, green room, scene shop, 99-seat auditorium, dance studio, lobby and concession space, changing rooms, those exterior park restrooms I mentioned, as well as additional storage. So really creating a multifunctional space that can be flexible in its use, and with the lobby being positioned where it is in the orange, kind of, I'll say, page south of how you see the floor plan now, having roll-up glass doors that can be opened up to that breezeway plaza space to really allow opportunity for overflow in the lobby should a performance be taking place, activities happening, really just creating multifunction opportunity. And here are some elevations shown, which I know are a little difficult to navigate. The first one on top is a view of that entry, so the tall glass panels with overhead shade in there, and side profile of the building below. And the top elevation here is along what I'll call the baseball corridor, for lack of a better term. And the bottom elevation is on the side adjacent to what would be seen from the current parking lot. And this kind of helps animate the space a little bit more with the view. And what you can see in the boxed out panels on the side, they would have interior lit lights. So at night, it really creates this glowing effect, the beacon of the parks, if you will, knowing that there'll be performances or opportunities to activate this building or space after hours. And here is another view, the backside as well. And this is the Performing Arts Building on the left, in conjunction with what will be the Olive Recreation Building on the right, and the breezeway in between. So I will jump to the Rec Building now. So I will say the current Rec Building is about 22,000 square feet, 1 story, and our new building nearly doubles, more than doubles that. We're looking at 2 stories, 50,000 square feet between the first and second floor. So this is the first floor, maintaining our 2 footprints for full-size basketball courts, storage and equipment space, employee wellness center and childcare, a lobby, classrooms that would face that pedestrian plaza area with roll-up door opportunities also. So really commingling of uses when needed. Let's see. And our second story will relocate the community services staffing needs here, administration offices, with an indoor observation track looking down on the basketball court. So really bringing that fitness in the building too, and an opportunity for staffing up there as well, with controlled access and a lobby opportunity on the second floor for security purposes. And here is a view. The top elevation, I'll say, is the olive side of the Olive Recreation Center, what currently is the front door of our existing building, now the back side of the building, I'll say. And the bottom elevation is that side view along what I'll call the baseball corridor as well. So opportunity to invigorate the architecture within the park, bring in new materials, but also blend with the existing Betsy Lukey Creative Arts Center that will stay within the park footprint. Inviting glass into the space as well, creating reflection and opportunity to really enhance the area. That's the corner observation. And what I didn't mention is we also, that observation deck wraps around on the building exterior partially too. So you have a deck experience. And here's that breezeway opportunity I mentioned between the 2 buildings. So we would introduce a shade component, overhead shade component, that really would lend itself to creating a more contained yet open environment between the 2 buildings. Perforated metal panels of sorts. And so with that, I'll introduce now our 3D renderings. So those floor plans were used to, do the nitty-gritty of the functionality and programming of the building, and now the fun really begins on bringing that into the site and folding it into the fabric of the park. So here is a first view of what would be the drop-off area, that kind of truncated parking lot condition looking towards what that pedestrian plaza is. And here is the opposite side of that, still looking towards the two buildings, the pedestrian plaza from that drop-off zone. Now we're inside the plaza, looking towards the Olive Recreation Center. A little bit further back, so showing that that space really can function in a myriad of ways, whether there's farmer market opportunities or rotating gallery spaces that overflow from the Betsy Lukey Creative Arts Center, or Easter programming, you know, holiday programming, what have you. Lots of opportunity to use this space. Now we're within the breezeway, so you can kind of see on both sides, or at least on the left side for the rec building, doors are open. They can spill out into that plaza space. And something we also looked at is the backside, or what I will say the backside is currently, of the rec building, how that interfaces with the jet. I mentioned we're constrained on all sides of where our improvements are going. So obviously we don't want to do anything that would affect this piece that's so important and such a signaler of here you're at George's A. So just dressing up that space, creating a pedestrian-friendly zone. Now that green linear park belt is so used so frequently, but really just adding to that opportunity. A view from further back. And this is along what I'll call that baseball corridor. We would propose introducing ball containment netting on the existing chain link fence to protect pedestrians and obviously our beautiful new buildings that will be built. And something I'll backtrack slightly. You know, something we notice in the park currently, there's not a strong pedestrian connection between really this corridor itself. Now, just the way the buildings are oriented, the way the parking comes through. So we know that that's kind of a strong connector, especially if we're limiting the parking lot where it is now to create that drop-off. Wayfinding signage and wider, more comfortable walkways will be of importance to really, I'll say, direct traffic, get people where they want to go, but also have an enjoyable experience. And here is a view of the backside of the theater building, the Performing Arts Center, kind of along that baseball corridor as well. Here's some of that glass paneling on the theater building, which really provides a nice experience. And I'll say the opposite corner on Olive Avenue of the rec building, closer towards Griffith. And again, preserving that kind of passive green belt experience within the park, but really providing opportunity just for park users to enjoy it however they like. And here's a video that will better explain it all. So existing conditions of that parking lot. The truncated version with creating the drop-off opportunity. And our new kind of plaza entry between the two buildings, the theater building being on the right, the rec building on the left. The jet condition, improving the pedestrian experience there, and the pedestrian experience between the tennis courts. Going through the breezeway between the two buildings. You can see the observation deck on the second level. preserving the existing ball fields and stadium as they are. Improving that baseball corridor walkway experience. Seeing that passive lawn experience on what is the back side of the building now, of the rec building. Okay, I clicked through that video so quickly. I didn't think it was coming so fast. But if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you for your time and participation to listen.
Thank you, Tamara. Exceptional presentation. Thank you so much for your hard work on this project. Just wanted to remind Council that the next steps is that staff will be proposing to start phase 3 of the master plan, which involves design development and schematic design for the project. And a couple of things to mention is while the focus is on the redevelopment of the rec center and also the Performing Arts Center, the master plan does call for minor improvements of the Betsy Luque Creative Arts Center and also of the Jocelyn Center. So those will happen in future phases. Our priority right now is to really focus on this, the development of those two buildings. And we'll continue to prioritize deferred maintenance and maintenance projects based on our master plan.
Thank you.
With that being said, I'd love to answer any of your questions, please.
All right. Thank you both for the presentation and the lovely video. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Since we did public comment at the beginning for both closed session and for the study session, it is now time for the council to ask questions. Who has questions? So polite. Councilmember Rosati.
Thank you. Wow, I'm impressed. It looked beautiful. It's very inviting. I like the design concept. I did have a couple of questions regarding the parking lot and how does that affect the historical society, and how many spots are we losing, and are we thinking about the historical society? Are we going to tie anything into that?
Great questions. During the next stages of design development, schematic design, we will also be engaging with our CEQA consultant to confirm requirements as well as planning public works, what the parking implications are, if any, if allowing us to create that drop off and how that interfaces with the historical society. We know they're obviously next door neighbors are on the park property proper, so that interface will be very important and critical.
I'd like to expand on that just a little bit. During our community engagement, they were stakeholders during our community engagement, so we reached out to them. The parking spaces that we're going to be taking up for the breezeway, right, are parking spaces that currently staff is parking their vehicles, some trucks and vans, and it's very limited the number of parking stalls that we're going to be losing back there, and the turnabout is currently a red zone.
Oh, okay, got it.
Councilmember Mullins.
Thank you. If you can just walk us through a timeline, also the cost of the project and where the funding is going to come from, that would be very helpful just so we can all hear it.
Okay, I'll take that one.
Sure.
So timeline, very exciting to say that we want to move forward into phase 3, schematic design development. In this budget cycle, we're also going to be proposing that we continue down this road and asking for construction document development as a phase 4. So shovels in the ground, if all the planets align and we continue to move at this pace, and I know our city manager and our director are really focused on moving this process along as quickly as we possibly can within reason, right, doing it responsibly responsibly, we're looking at a 2027 timeline for us to potentially complete all of those processes, including the CEQA requirements, okay? Where we're going to get the money, right? That's a big question. The master plan puts us in such a wonderful place for us to go out and look for other funding opportunities, grant opportunities. The level of community engagement that we've done thus far really makes us very competitive in that process. And then, we are going to be looking for every opportunity to fund this project responsibly. And Marissa is not here currently, but I don't know if Mr. City Manager, you'd like to talk about other funding opportunities or how we're going to fund this project. And before he answers that, we're looking at a $56 million ticket item, cost item.
I should say lots of bake sales, but that would probably be inappropriate. So once we get this shovel ready, I think we'll be even in a better position to apply for grants. Obviously, we like other people's money as far as grants and other funds. The thing for us we'll probably have to do some sort of financing with the remainder. It would either come out of Measure P, which is what you have for infrastructure, or general fund. So that's still to be decided. We want to get that at the we want to get to the shovel-ready phase, so then we could figure out a financing strategy.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always helpful to know how we're going to pay for it and how long would it take and when we do the groundbreaking, so kind of anticipation. It's a wonderful project, obviously way overdue, and it looks very exciting on the video, like you actually feel it and see how you're going to be able to walk through the buildings. And I'm personally excited also about the Burbank Performing Arts Center, because I think that's going to be a great addition to the art community. If you can just also talk to us about the envision of what would that look like? Like, is this something that we're going to be leasing out? Is it going to be open to the artist? And also art displays. Are we going to be able to add any kind of displays for the community to go see? So if you just talk a little bit more about the Performing Arts Center.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tamara, if you don't mind just bringing up the floor plans.
Sure.
So one, just as far as the layout of in where we have space for art galleries and expanding art gallery space. In the lobby of the Performing Arts Center, there's an opportunity to do arts displays. In the rec center, the two main corridors there, we have the opportunity to offer gallery space. And as far as programming the facility, currently, the strategy will be for staff to manage the building, manage programming, and then create opportunities for us to partner with third-party providers to enhance and to have multi-use opportunities for those spaces. So rentals, short-term, long-term. We really want to first accommodate all of our existing programs, develop on our programs, and then make this venue available for rent and to partner with other organizations to program the space. So I hope that answered your question.
Yes, and I know you mentioned earlier you worked with the culture arts as
Yes.
well, so they did weigh in on the design or what the use should be and look like, and
Yes.
I'm sure you guys going to continue working with them very close because they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
That's right.
And so we do need their help.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Tamara mentioned this in her presentation. We had 3 meetings with the Cultural Arts Commission. One was a site awareness meeting with RJM and SVA, which are architects in this space for performing arts. The second meeting was to get their feedback and to understand what their needs are. And the third meeting was to present the floor plans. And I can tell you they were incredibly excited about this opportunity and are very supportive of this floor plan.
You're all so polite today. Councilor Anthony.
Not necessarily a question, just two comments. If I could pull up slide 26. So on slide 26, on the left-hand side, you have the observation deck. Now, it's not there, but it would be facing the Performing Arts Center, right?
Correct.
So
Yes.
the length of the observation deck would be along the breezeway.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
My only suggestion would be you're going to have some kids up there playing around. Make sure it's tall enough so they're not throwing things over. Just,
Great advice.
yes.
Thank you.
Because if there's an observation deck, there's going to be a kid up there.
Yeah,
Like,
oh,
stay
yeah.
here. I'm going to run up and. Okay.
Yeah.
Not that I've done it. What? Second, I know we're not technically talking about it today, but if you could pull up slide 6.
While they pull it up, let's also make sure nobody can jump over
Yes.
or
Also.
fall over.
Yeah.
Well, and I will chime in. Diego impressed, as well as other staff, impressed the need for, that second floor is administration staffing, having a lobby or front desk to kind of monitor who's coming up, who's going down. Not that prevents those things from
Right.
happening, but at least it's another set of eyes.
Okay. Appreciate that. The yellow section
Yes.
is
It's the playground currently.
playground and all of that.
Yes.
The top left corner of that yellow section, the green space, the grass, it's very uneven. It's like there's a little hill in the middle and there's a tree that's kind of above it. So if we can level that out, I know some people like to roll down that hill, but I think that would open that space up. That's my only recommendation for the yellow spot.
Thank you.
Otherwise, I've been looking through this and I was very impressed.
Thank
with
you very much.
All of this, it's an incredible design. So thank you.
I will say it's a testament to your community. I mean, so much of this is driven, it's not us, it's you. It's the community's vision. So it's amazing to see, and I think it's going to be a really wonderful showpiece for the park and Burbank at large.
Councilmember Takahashi, Vice Mayor Takahashi. Oh no, I did it to
It's
you.
like
It's been
2025.
done to
Takes a
me.
while to get used to this switch. So thank you to all staff and to all of you who have worked on this. Diego knows that I've been with this project since it was born in 2022 at the Cultural Arts Commission,
Yes.
with the little theater part anyway, and then also just the whole area. And I so appreciate the amount of time that staff has taken to look at this project and listen to the community and to be able to incorporate literally everything that they asked for, which is just amazing. So I'm sure there will be continued to be ideas, but as we move forward, but you've already done so much great work. So a few more thoughts
Sure.
to think about. And I'm wondering, for the pedestrian area that what you call the breezeway, I noticed in the 3D modeling that there were a number of art pieces, and so I guess could you just kind of share a little bit about what the thoughts are, how that's going to be used as a creative space or space of demonstrating art, not the walls of the building, but like the actual breezeway itself.
Throughout the process, the community engagement process and our meetings with the Cultural Art Commission, during this last year, there was a lot of feedback received about opportunity for rotating art galleries, a flexible use space. So in the model, the video, we presented that as such. And I think during the schematic design and design development phase, that's when we'll really hone in on what that looks like, how that transpires, and what the expectation, needs, and desires are of the community and stakeholders for how that space functions.
That's wonderful. There's such an opportunity there. I'm thinking like concrete art. I'm thinking the shade structure,
yeah.
Can be an art piece.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking that whole area on both sides of the playground and the sports are full of kids that want to climb on art. So climbable art, like we have at the park next to the library, we have the hats, right? So that kind of idea is such a rich opportunity there to provide the community for not only the visual arts, which are great,
Yes.
but also like experiential and immersive arts. So that's pretty cool. I'm sure the Cultural Arts Commission will also chime in on some of those ideas.
That is wonderful. Thank you.
And same with the corridor that's between the building and the courts, that
Yes.
narrow area. That can also be some, I think, opportunity for some concrete art or some little things.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to mention too, because over the years I've used that corridor many, many, many times. And that is a kind of a narrow corridor. And and I don't know exactly what the programming intends to be for that building, but when I was there doing a lot of children's programming, I had my stroller and I had a kid on my, also carrying the baby Bjorn, all that stuff. And so as I was looking through the 3D modeling, it looked a little bit hard to navigate around the little bushes in the middle and stuff. So just kind of keeping in mind that there's going to be a lot of strollers and wagons and things like that going through there. So as we're designing it to give plenty of space for folks to navigate that.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Let's see. And then also the space in the new back of
Yes.
it by the plane. That is beautiful. I love the concept of that area. And right now, that area, at least when I see it used, oftentimes is being used to stage for the sporting teams, right? So
Yes.
they're either getting ready for their game
Right.
or they're handing something out or they're having a meeting or something, right? And I think I was looking at it trying to imagine that, and maybe another space might emerge that's better, but just kind of thinking ahead that they probably will want to continue to use that space or something like it, and just thinking about where they're going to convene. That's what-
Very good point. Thank you.
And let's see. Oh, one last question I have for you is I imagine that when it's time to build the building, this is a ways down the road, I understand, but the building will be out, will not be available for use for a while, right? So how long do you suspect that the building will be not being able to be used while it's being rebuilt? And what will be the plan, roughly, what's the plan for how to have all that programming somewhere else, or how to keep going all those programs?
I can take that one. Thank you so much, Vice Mayor, for the question. So we have given that a lot of thought. And first is we look at all the vacant spaces in all of our various buildings, right? We're lucky enough to have several facilities. And so first, repurpose some of those rooms for that, for additional programming. But we also will leverage our relationship with BUSD and our joint use agreement to be able to use their spaces for to accommodate for this expansion during that period of construction.
Okay, great. Thank you. And again, great job. Please keep us posted. Obviously you will, but really I'm excited about continue to be posted. And that video, will it be available for the public to look at it online?
Yes, after it gets approved tonight, we'll make it available. We have a project website that is still live.
Yes.
Okay.
And residents can go and check out the project website. We'll continue to provide updates as we had for this meeting tonight. And we'll put that video up, and we'll expect nothing less than 1,000 views by the end of the week.
YouTube channel. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any other questions from my colleagues? Councilor Anthony.
Just one last thing. My son would disown me if I didn't ask if we could get some LED lights on the F-109 Starfighter.
Oh.
It's such a cool jet, and all we
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
is the spotlights.
Yeah.
Light it up. I mean, make it look cool.
It
That's
is
all.
Burbank. I mean,
Right?
yes.
That's my only suggestion.
I think you could expect LED lights in our new teen center.
That's a great segue to my questions. Actually, talking about the fighter jet, we have received a lot of emails and asks
Sure.
from the community. Are there plans for restoration?
I don't want to go too far off topic, but there are plans, and Public Works is working through a study for those renovations. So,
And I believe you did fund it, some monies out of the budget last year for that. So our Public Works Director not here, but we could get you update on that.
Great. I would love to hear the timeline, because in thinking about that, feels like as we develop this and as we kind of continue to highlight the jet, I'd love to see it fully restored. Definitely doesn't look the way it did when I used to go to the park as a kid.
If I could, it's technically not ours. It's on loan from the,
Right.
the military, U.S. military. So there's a whole process there. So
I'm sure they'd be excited to see it restored. Also, that's a great opportunity for us to ask for that outside money. My next question is, what is the actual height of the recreation center? or the
you're
expected height?
testing me. I don't have the number in front of me, but I'm going to say in the 20-foot range, 20 to 25 feet range, based on, each floor. Although the basketball court, will provide a higher ceiling in that footprint, but we're in that 20 to 30-foot range, I'll say.
Okay. And have we talked to, I know this is a residential neighborhood, have we talked to the neighboring homes, apartments about that? Because I know we're thinking about the overlook, and I think
Sure.
that's really lovely in theory.
Right.
But have we talked about folks who may be faced with that every morning?
We have not at this point as part of this project, but I imagine during schematic design and design development, that will be an important piece to solicit and gain feedback on.
Thank you. And yeah, I'd love to hear that and love to hear what the neighbors think. I know, especially with our new zone text amendment and our planning, we take a lot of precautions to make sure we don't have balconies facing into homes
Sure.
and those things. So I'd like to make sure we're doing our own due diligence when it comes to our developments in our parks.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Let's see. My next question is also about the public event space. I know folks have had a lot of questions about that. Is the vision, I know much smaller scale, but is the vision to have something similar to what perhaps Glendale Civic Center is? There's performing arts there sometimes, there's events that take up space there. We've even seen galas there. Are we looking at that, but in a smaller capacity?
That's right, yes, absolutely. So we want to activate as much as we can the performing arts programs. So from kids programs that we probably will do in-house to rental opportunities to full-blown, performances. And so, yes, all of the above.
Great. I love to hear that because we've definitely heard from our community that we could use some more publicly owned event space.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Mayor, just to reiterate, what you'll have here is 3 distinct performing arts spaces within that building to be able to accomplish that.
Great. And I love the mix of some of that being indoors, some of that being outdoors. That's perfect. It's exactly what our community needs. My last question, and then probably my least exciting question. On slide 42, is that exercise equipment? Forgive me, it's a little small. Right in that corner by the baseball field?
I do believe that is in there in the model. That was part of the master plan recommendation, possibly introducing, fitness stations throughout the park, maybe primarily focused in the greenbelt space on Olive Avenue. During schematic design and design development, closer attention will be paid to that if that makes sense, given the programming intent for that space, keeping it flexible for different events, like you mentioned, team warm-up. So that is in the video. You are correct in seeing that.
Okay, great. And I was just wondering, because in the way, and again, I know this is plans, this is a concept, in the way it's presented here, it looks like it's right next to the steps where we sometimes have presentations and all of that by the baseball field. So I'm just wondering if that's a good place for it.
We will look at that, certainly. That is an important space, the Walk of Fame there on
Right,
that field,
right.
yes.
Thank you. Those
Thank
are
you.
all my questions. I'll just say great presentation. I think
you.
you have 5 council members who are very excited
Great.
about the project.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if my colleagues have any other points of feedback, things you'd like, go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Mayor. Sorry, I forgot to ask this one. So I'm absolutely sure that's going to be ADA compliant, for sure.
Absolutely.
Will it be ADA friendly and really like going above and beyond to ensure that our disabled community can enjoy it as well?
Absolutely.
Fully.
I'll say as landscape architects and the architects we work with, SVA architects, that's a real big important point for us, not just making things compliant, but comfortable for those moms walking with the double strollers or someone who might be disabled or have their dog on a leash walking with them. Making it as accessible and comfortable as it can be given the space constraints we have to work in.
Councilor Anthony?
I'll just give you one suggestion. ADA friendly, the least amount of doors or corners you have to turn. That is really key if you can
Yes.
design it so those 2 things are minimized. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Definitely agreed. Thank you again for this presentation.
Thank you.
This was wonderful. We can't wait to see phase 3.
I'm excited. We're excited to get started. Thank you for your support and the opportunity to present tonight to you.
Of course, and if you're out there and you're interested in supporting this financially, if you're a community member, if you are a elected official who would like to donate some money, I'm just saying, here it is. So thank you, staff. Thank you to our consultant for the presentation. And this ends our study session. We will now take a short recess and come back in 5 minutes for a regularly scheduled council meeting. Thank you.